A nation full of racism, inequality, a corrupt judicial system, and very few people trying to make a difference. We're not talking about America. This is Escape from Pretoria.
Move it! Faster!
Get a move on!
Pronto.
Rapido!
Yalla!
I got time for a quickie.
First off, let me thank Flick Cinema for letting me check out Escape from Pretoria. They're the fancy theaters in Mercab and Laguna Mall. They got comfy seats and tasty treats. I highly recommend that you check them out. So with all that Flick Cinema goodness out of the way, let's get to my review of Escape from Pretoria. Escape from Pretoria is a 2020 thriller directed by Francis Annan. It was written by Francis Annan and L.H. Adams and is based off of the book by Tim Jenkin. Cinematography is by Jeffrey Hall, editing by Nick Fenton, with music by David Hirschfelder. The movie stars Daniel Radcliffe, Daniel Weber, Ian Hart, Nathan Page, Ratidzo Mambo, Mark Leonard Winter, Stephen Hunter, and many, many more. So the movie is a true story that follows two political prisoners who are fighting for equal rights for everyone under apartheid rule in South Africa. Of course, the South African people and the government did not like this, resulting in maximum sentences for both of these guys when they were caught distributing pamphlets through explosive containers that were actually harmless to the people around them. What follows is a tense tale of their lengthy efforts to escape Pretoria prison. So if you don't know the history of apartheid South Africa, that's fine, because the introduction of this movie gives you a pretty solid overview via news clips narrated by Daniel Radcliffe as Tim Jenkin. But to be honest, what it comes down to is a literal black and white story of right and wrong. It's straight up good versus evil, with people on the right side of history trying to overcome their oppressors. From start to finish, this movie is fantastically paced and just ratchets up the tension as it goes along. Part of that amazing pacing and tension building is the solid musical score that adds a lot to the atmosphere and really complements what's happening on screen at all times. But it's not one of those movies where the music is constantly going. It definitely knows when to be quiet. And in those silent moments is when you feel the most tension. They really know how to use sound, close-up shots, interesting angles, lighting. All that stuff really plays into these quiet, tense moments that will have you on the edge of your seat. Something else that adds to that tension is the amazing performances by all of the cast. Everybody puts in their full effort, whether it be small parts like the prison guards or the warden or the actual prisoners. There are no small parts in this movie and everything matters. I love a movie that knows when to show something as opposed to telling it, and this movie does that constantly, and especially from the perspective of the characters. A lot of times that perspective is limited. You can't see what's around the corner or if they're being spotted or not, so it adds a lot again to that tension. Plus, it's just a lot of interesting angles. It lets you in on the way that these characters are thinking. It shows their ingenuity, it shows how they're planning and how they analyze things. And once you get to know the prison and see how bad it is, remember to think about the fact that this was the nice prison made for whites. Imagine how crappy the prisons must have been for the black political prisoners. Cinematography is solid all around. There's always really great lighting. There's some really cool effects that they use again to heighten that tension with lighting, light coming through slits in the doors or shadow under the doors. Because this is a character-driven story, the blocking is very important, and there's always great shots, really good shapes. They do a lot of depth in the frame. And speaking of story, there is some exposition of the film, but it's never done lazily. You have really good voiceovers by Daniel Radcliffe. I actually wish there were more voiceovers in the film that just kind of explain his thought process, because he actually met with Tim Jenkin. Tim Jenkin was on set, he was an advisor to the film. Daniel Radcliffe read the book and all kinds of stuff, so he could really get everything right. So I really would have liked to have heard more of what, Tim Jenkin was thinking at the time. Another way that they do exposition is in conversations, whether they're planning out the escape or just, the conditions in the prison, but it never feels forced, it always feels natural. The bad guys aren't on screen very often, but when they are, it's effective because the story is supposed to focus on these guys and them trying to overcome these obstacles within the prison itself. The main obstacles are the mechanisms of the prison, not the guards or the warden. It's really just about the perseverance of man in the face of adversity. It's also about mankind's capability of overcoming obstacles through ingenuity and thinking outside of the box. Whenever they overcome one of these obstacles, you really feel it. You're happy, you're excited with these guys. And when they run into another obstacle or something fails or something doesn't work right that they were trying to do, or something happens where they might get caught, you really, really feel it. You're right there alongside with them, and it's nerve-wracking. Some of the accents are super thick and may be hard for some people to understand them. The accents for the most part are pretty good. You'll definitely hear a few of them slipping. But after about 20 or 30 minutes, it doesn't really matter because the movie's so good, it's so engrossing that you kind of forget that. Something that you do need to remember is the fact that this isn't some crazy action movie. Don't go into expecting, John Wick or something. There's not a lot of fireworks. There's not a lot of, combat or anything like that. It is a smart story. It's methodically paced and plotted. It's a true story. It's all about what these guys went through. So don't go in there thinking it's going to be something it's not. So all in all, I gotta say this. This is a very simple movie. It was a complicated situation, and that's why while I was watching it, even though I've read the book, I've seen a documentary, and I've seen a special on it on the Discovery Channel, I was still nervous as hell. If you can see, my nails are all gone because I literally chewed all of my nails down to the quick watching this movie, even though I knew what was gonna happen. That's how well this movie executes tension. For me, this is definitely in my top prison movies of all time. This is up there with Escape from Alcatraz and Shawshank Redemption, especially given the fact that it's a true story. So with all that being said, what is my score? Drum roll, please. 7 out of 10.